this is the second video in the series of starting a fruit festival series kind of thing, and maybe this will help some people that are doing it. And there was no, let me try and, I did, obviously the last video was kind of the story running up to starting the fruit festival, and maybe I didn't put enough into it about how I'd been to other events. I've been to like 4 or 5 other fruit festivals. I'm seeing people start fruit festivals, and I'm like, I've never seen these people at a fruit festival, right? Maybe I've not met them, but I've been to most of them, and I've not seen them. So I'm like, I don't know if they know exactly what it is. But anyway, so we've got Woodstock, and the Denmark Festival, and the Slovenian Festival, and the Spanish Festival. And I'd been to all of these before I started a fruit festival. So without realizing what I was doing, I was kind of doing research, I guess, but I had no intention of starting a festival really. But looking back, I had all this research that I could look back on, and I could think about how all those festivals went and how it was and different things, and I'd made a lot of connections, which is probably pretty important. Is actually making connections and friendships with people who are part of this community. So I already knew a lot of the speakers, so I could go to them and they knew who I was. And I could ask people to promote it for me because they knew who I was already and they'd met me. So, you know, I'd done all that stuff already because I was part of the community, right? And I also knew the lifestyle pretty well because I was living on it. So that all adds to it. I also knew people all over the UK that could help out with it because I'd been at different festivals and met them, and some of them had, like one of them had a London group, and she brought a lot of people along to the festival and stuff like that. So I'd made some connections with different people. Now, I don't know exactly when the date came about of when we were going to do it, but the most important thing for getting started is actually finding a venue and committing to a date. That is when it becomes reality. Someone said you can have dreams and goals, but until you've actually scheduled it, then it's, it's not happening, sort of thing. So if you've got a dream or a goal of an event, then your best thing is to commit to a specific date and commit to a specific venue. And the biggest lesson to learn is there's no perfect date, there's no perfect venue. So you're never going to find the perfect venue of your dreams at the perfect time, especially the first year you do it. And one of the biggest lessons about finding a venue is that a lot of places are booked years in advance. Some of them years in advance because they have a particular group that comes every single year. They might have 10 groups that take up the 10 weeks of the summer, and they all have been coming for years, like the Boy Scouts Association, Christian groups, Jewish groups, Muslim groups, whatever. They have a weekend event once a year or whatever. They've been doing it for 20 years, and they're just looking for a place that they go back to year after year. So it is tough to find the right venue, but mostly what you want with a raw vegan festival, there's a few things you need to remember. Most places are not going to cater for you pretty much. So you're probably going to need to bring your own chef, and you might need to bring your own sort of volunteer team to do the kitchen. You might know a chef or whatever. And there's a lot of people that will come to your event to be the chef. That's a weird thing to say. That's probably, when I say a lot, there are some. There are some. But there is a lot of people that will definitely help out in the kitchen. But when I say a lot, there are more chefs than there are opportunities. But there's not that many opportunities, and there's not that many chefs, but there's more chefs than festivals. And you should really go, that's one of the key positions, is a good chef. Anyway, we'll get to that positions in a second, but the venue It depends what you want to do. You might just want to do an event that's where you don't provide accommodation, where you just have a hotel ballroom or a hotel room, and everyone comes in and there's lectures and food served and activities. Maybe you just want to do that, and maybe there's some advantages and stuff to that. You might want to have a camping event, so it's just a campground, everyone comes and camps. You might just have a local event, people just come for the day, they don't stay over anywhere. So you could do all these kind of things, but the unique thing of the Fruit Festival, the way that I want to run it, is I want people to be basically living together or in a community together for most of the time together. And so being able to stay together is fantastic. Being able to get a community of people together, especially if it's private as possible. One of our downsides to our venue at the Fruit Festival is that it is adjoining another campsite. So it's actually not that close. It's pretty sheltered, but you can walk down and there's other caravans in another campsite. And we don't really get anyone coming and bothering us. But I guess it's just the knowledge that there's more people who aren't part of our event who are, fairly close by. They never really come round, but that's not ideal, right? You'd rather have a place that you've got to yourself. So that's something, as the Fruit Festival grows, I'll need to find or try and deal with that, or try and rent out the whole place or something. So ideally having a place where everyone can stay together, and ideally having a place with accommodation. And that's kind of hard to do, actually. It's quite hard to find, because there's not a lot of events that are set up that want to do that. Most of the events, if you look online to people that help to find venues for events, because there's people that do that for a living. They are an agent that will help you find a venue, but they are really more at the corporate level of conferences and big corporate events, and they help with getting big expensive hotels and stuff like that, and it's quite expensive. Per person it would be like, looking at the prices, per person it's like £100 each or something per night, some of these places. So that would mean, for example, that would instantly make the price of this year's festival, the price would have to go up to £2,000 or £3,000 if it was at a place like that per person, right? So that might work for you if that's the kind of event you want to do, but we're looking for a place where you can put everyone together. The more expensive your venue is, the bigger risk it is for you to take on, and the more I would suggest that you need to be someone that is a professional in events management, but in particular in the marketing of events. And even if you've got a big social presence, I wouldn't I wouldn't commit to that. I don't think you necessarily know how hard it is to get enough people to an event. But it's not the same as building a social media profile. But so a venue, obviously you have to think about the cost of it. But you'll probably find a place. It'll not be the perfect place, but you have to go there and find it and get it. It needs to have a kitchen that you can use. A lot of places don't give you a kitchen that you can use, which is a problem, Or you have to use their staff, which is a bit of a problem. Or they don't let you use their fridge, which is a problem. So the ideal place would let you use a fridge, would have a nice kitchen, would have all the cutlery and have all the plates and things like that, a dishwasher, sinks, and would have napkins. Very important at the Fruit Festival is napkins, right? A source of water, clean water, is good as well. And also, if they have some ability to deal with your waste, which is going to be a lot more than they expect, because they don't realise how much fruit's going to be left over. So if they can deal with that, either they are going to dump it somewhere, or they can compost it, or there's a local what have you that's going to come and pick it up, like a farmer or something. These things you need to you need to know in advance. The waste, like the cutlery, the size of the kitchen. You need to be thinking about all these things. So you need to be thinking about all those things. The kitchen is important. Dining space, is there enough dining space? How many tables and chairs? Now, all these things can be rented, but you need to know in advance if you need to rent them or not. So that's an important thing. And sometimes you might think, wow, this venue is really cheap. But if it's cheap and you need to rent all the tables and chairs, and you need to rent all the cutlery, and you need to rent a fridge unit, and you need to rent a kitchen, and you need to rent and they ask you to pay for their staff, you have to really look at what the costs really are to it. So that's some things about just the kitchen, pretty important. A storage space for all the fruit, pretty important. If they've got a fridge, that's excellent. If they've got a fridge space that you can use, that's super good. But if they don't, that's fine. You can rent a mobile fridge, and we've had to do that a number of years. In terms of the accommodation for the people, you kind of want a range of accommodation if possible. You would like, ideally, to have some kind of dorm type accommodation where people can just have a bed in a room. Private rooms, maybe double rooms, family rooms. If you can find a place that has a range of things, that's much better, because people want different types of accommodation. Some people are looking for the cheapest, that's all they care about, and some people want their own space. It's very important to them. Camping, if camping can be an option, that's something important to ask. Don't just assume they'll let you camp. They might not. And it's nice to know things like, will they let you do a campfire? Will they let you do certain activities? Are they okay with you, having people out exercising, kicking balls around, or playing different sports? Do they have things on their site that they're happy for you to use? What else? You might want to ask about their insurance, I guess. If they have insurance, if they require insurance from you, sometimes a venue might ask you for your insurance in advance, your insurance details. And if they do ask you for that, then you better get it. And that might be a bit of a hassle, but that's kind of rare. I've only once has that happened, where venues wanted insurance details in advance. But usually they'll let you book the place before they ask you for the insurance, because you need some time. This is the thing, when you're speaking to a venue as well, and you're not going to find the perfect place. You just got to commit to it, right? And actually, the transport to the place is probably just as important as everything else. Can people get to it easily? Is there an airport nearby? Relatively nearby? Is there a transport links? And is it near a fairly big city? Is it near a city that people can travel from? Is it just off the motorway, or is it like in the middle of nowhere it's going to be hard to find? These things are all important to think about. And accommodation wise, this is going to get really boring in detail, but you need to know if they're providing bedding or not. If they're providing any towels or things like that. Don't just assume they're going to provide it. Anything else? And obviously they need to have some rooms that you can use. Are they happy for you to use all the rooms? Do they have audio equipment? Do they have screens that you can use? The dining room is what size is that? How many people can it accommodate? So you got to think about all these things in a bit of an organised way. You really do need to become organised. You don't have to be an organised person, but you need to be prepared to become more organised. You don't have to be an organised person from the start, but you need to be happy to become more organised. So, if you're going to these venues, it's a good idea to take pictures, take video, so that when you're actually promoting the event, people can see what they're going to, because people want to see what they're going to go to. They want to see the accommodation. It's not enough to just explain it or whatever. So take pictures, maybe do a video at the thing so you can say this is where our event is going to be, and all of that. Okay, so that's enough really for this video, I think. So the first thing is the location. Get the location down. Get the location right. Get a venue, and then pay the deposit for the venue. That's very important. Or commit to the time, but the best thing is to pay the deposit. And that's the biggest investment you're probably going to make up front. Depending on the size of how big you're doing it. If you're thinking of getting thousands of people, then your marketing budget is probably going to be way bigger than your venue than the venue is. So trying to think of other things about a venue. You just want to know exactly what you can do at it. What time can you stay up till? What time can you get up at? What rooms can you use? What rooms can't you use? Are they happy for you to use the kitchen? Are they happy for you to, that they're going to take all their stuff out, and let you use your stuff? Is it vegan? This is another thing that we learned in the first event. Are the pillowcases vegan? Are the materials vegan? Are the, things like that are important, right? Is it all vegan? So there you go. That's the first thing to do. First priority: find a venue, and think about all the things that I've put in this video. Find a venue, and commit to it, and commit to a date. Okay, thank you very much.